Welcome to our talk. I'm Luciana Monteiro-Krebs, and on behalf of my co-authors Elias Storms and Oscar Alvarado, I'll present our paper Transparency is Meant for Control and Vice Versa, Learning from Co-Designing and Evaluating Algorithmic News Recommenders. This work derives from a project conducted at KU Leuven in Belgium by 3 research groups: Meaningful Interactions Lab in the Social Sciences Department, the Center for IT and IP Law in the Law Department, and the Augment in the Computer Sciences Department. Current news distribution relies on algorithmic recommender systems designed to predict the preferences of readers and to offer a personalized experience. Unfortunately, these automated systems are opaque on how they come to their suggestions. Research has highlighted potential issues of algorithmic mediation, such as biases in the personalization processes and privacy concerns. This paper explores the lack of transparency of news recommenders and proposes to tackle this issue by involving users in the design of their interfaces. Legislators have tried to legally implement transparency. For instance, the General Data Protection Regulation, the GDPR, ensures the rights of the data subjects, including their access to information on automated decision-making. Another important aspect to consider is the people's perception of algorithmic mediation and how these impressions shape interactions with the platforms. Butcher developed the notion of algorithmic imaginary to refer to the way people imagine, perceive, and experience algorithms. We suggest that the design of algorithmic recommenders should consider these 2 pillars: the legal requirements of the GDPR and the user's conceptions and expectations. Our study was developed in 2 phases. Firstly, a set of 2 workshops meant to explore imaginaries about news recommendations in social media and gathering user design proposals. Secondly, a user evaluation of a prototype of a news recommendation interface based on the workshop's results. For the first part of our strategy, we recruited 11 participants that were social media users that received news through these mediums and that were open to reflect on their practices. Prior to the workshop, participants filled a diary to keep track of the news that appeared in their Facebook newsfeed. The sensitizing activity was meant to increase the awareness of algorithmic mediation. We then explored user imaginaries about which data is collected and processed when Facebook composes a news feed. The participants discussed what they think Facebook might consider to define the relevancy score. Then, participants took turns adding sticky notes to a shared whiteboard, a technique called collaborative affinity mapping, which highlighted both connections and contrasts between the concepts they brought up. The first workshop produced a structured overview of participants' imaginaries about the type of data used by Facebook to rank items and how this data is used. The results were summarized in 3 themes. The Big Brother and the abuse of data was the first one. Participants suspected of unfair and opaque data collection to improve the platform's predictive model. They mentioned spying through camera or microphone of their devices. The second theme was derived data, which consists of inferred data from users' behavior on the platform. The last theme was the explicitly provided data, consisting in information that is actively given by users, such as gender and relationship status. The second workshop intended to turn participants' wishes for explainability into design features that would better explain how and why certain items appear in their newsfeed. With the assistance of cards, one stock containing transparency goals and the other interaction design elements, participants chose the most critical goals and sketched design ideas around them. 3 of these ideas stood out. The first element was knowing which factors influence automated curation. They stated that the information used to build their profile interface should be transparent, accessible, and insightful. A second idea was that transparency and control need to be intertwined. It means that users should be able to intervene if the system makes faulty inferences about them. The last insight was profiling concerns. Participants were afraid that the profiles created to suggest content to them would pigeonhole them into a narrow category, resulting in them receiving news based on a limited conception of their interests. After these 2 workshops, we started the second phase of our study. We translated the ideas from the co-design workshops into different interface features, creating a mock-up prototype. The features were a why this explanation button, explaining why the article was selected based on information categories, ranking weights and sliders so the user can adjust the importance of certain categories in the ranking, a dashboard for users to change their topics of interest, thumbs up or thumbs down that allowed users to request more similar or different items to the ones they usually consume, and lastly, the interactive Privacy Hub, with a legal notice informing users of which data the system collects, how it is processed, and with what purpose. We added actionable buttons and links to the in-app control panels to connect existing features to legally required information, facilitating user control. 24 participants were recruited through social media for this phase. In individual interviews combined with walkthrough, participants navigated on the prototype, and from the feedback they provided, we gathered 8 insights. First, control requires transparency. Unless transparency of the algorithmic mediation is combined to user control, any amount of clarity can lead to frustration, since changes cannot be made. Second, transparency needs insight. The weights are of little use without additional context. Algorithmic systems showing the scenes of the design need to make sure that they are intelligible to the users. Third, balance between convenience and control. Users showed a positive response to the interest sliders, but they also reflected on the effort it would take to use those controls. Fourth, gaining insights through control panels. Some users were interested in using their sliders because not only these controls allow users to modify their profiles, but they would also shed light on how the user is being profiled by the platform. Fifth, trust as a networked characteristic. Trust in a news recommender cannot be meaningfully separated from the trust in the media organizations. Sixth, diversity and serendipity. The concern of being pigeonholed is particularly problematic for news readings, as participants emphasize the importance of surprise and curiosity in their news reading experience. Seventh, some users preferred control over transparency. Participants seemed more interested in manipulating the recommender systems in a prototype rather than knowing why or how it came to certain conclusions. Finally, the eighth is the interactivity in the Privacy Hub. Most participants stated that they do not read privacy notice because they have no room for negotiation. Thus, interactivity is an important point to consider for successful design changes. To conclude, this study allowed us to see how a close involvement of users can inform the design of news recommender systems by investigating their algorithmic imaginaries, including them in co-design activities, and learning from qualitative user evaluations. To learn all the details, feel free to read our full article. Thank you.